I was with you in Manila for a little bit, and I wanted to get your perspective. We haven't seen each other since. I want to get your perspective on that experience looking back, and then also you obviously were just matched up with Tyrese in Vegas last week, but just the talent from that team. This is a lot of these guys are the future of the league. Just like what you enjoyed the most about playing with them, what you learned from them, everything like that.
I mean, obviously we didn't, you know, finish the way we wanted to. Winning is the main goal at any. I mean, winning is the main goal in everything. But um, the best thing for me was, just um, you know, learning from them, but also like creating friendships with them. Like when I come into the NBA, I knew one guy in the league, and it was Landry Shamet. That was my roommate my sophomore year at Wichita State. So when I come into the league, like I didn't know anybody, so everything was kind of everybody's always buddy buddy now. Um, so going into that whole situation, that was kind of one of my like, how am I gonna fit in? Because I know all these guys know each other already, and probably have played together or been around each other. But for me, this was my second year in the league at the time, and I didn't know anybody. But being able to create real relationships, with these guys, Mikal and Cam, from the get go were great for me. Obviously, both of them, and Kel's personality, made everything easier for me just because he's so outgoing, so goofy. And we kind of we kind of go about life the same way. So it was great, but I just learned, a little bit of everything from everybody, even the coaches, just kind of the way that they, see the game, they go about the game, the way they do scouts and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, it was a great experience.
Did you feel like an outsider when you got to the NBA?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I mean, I joke all the time. I said this the other night. I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. I got lucky and they gave me an opportunity and I ran with it.
What was can you just sort of explain to, like, from a basketball perspective, the difference between FIBA, not just the rules, but the way the game is played, what officiated, whatever, FIBA versus the NBA?
I mean, it's just a lot more physical. And I think obviously the style of play is way different. Here in the States now, it's you go to a lot of one-on-one stuff. There's not really much offense. Your offense is a lot of the times high pick and roll. But I remember when we played Spain, like our second or third game, down screens, back screens, and you don't guard that in the league. More so when you played, that was real stuff, but you don't get much of that anymore.
Just retired 2 years.
Easy guy. Yeah,
easy guy. Back when you played.
Here we go.
Started when you played.
Y'all know what I mean.
No, I made this comment during I think it was maybe after the first loss, or maybe it was right after the medal round, but I made the comment. I think the adjustment for us, like meaning Americans that didn't grow up playing in Europe or Africa or Asia, where Australia, whatever, that aren't used to playing FIBA basketball, is that there are continuous actions that just flow into the next action. And there's certainly some offenses that function like that in the NBA
for sure,
night to night, but there's less than a handful.
Yeah,
less than a handful.
No doubt.
So your habits, you're not just accustomed to playing and defending that way. And on the other end, I made the comment, like, our go-to at times was just like, let's run a high pick and roll with Jalen, or let's run a high pick and roll with Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
We didn't get the continuous, second action, third action, fourth action. I mean, Germany was running some shit, man.
Yeah,
they were running some shit.
For real. And I mean, I remember after the Spain game, which we ended up winning, I looked at one of their players and was like, yo, y'all play the most beautiful basketball. Like, y'all might not score, as much or make as much shots, whatever, but like y'all's actions, the way like it's in sync, pin downs, the elevator screens, like if someone is ball watching for half a second, you're back cutting, like, and everybody knows exactly, where to go when all this stuff is happening. So I personally really enjoy it. Like it's beautiful basketball.
Do you think that like there could ever be buy-in from NBA players to play more? I think more like that. I wouldn't, because like my thing with the NBA is like you literally have, on any given team, you have one of the 30 best basketball players in the world. Why would the ball not be in his hands as much as possible, right? And 2, with the NBA rules, 3-second, all that stuff, right? It makes sense. But sometimes I think maybe there's an inefficiency in the marketplace where if a team just started running shit like that all the time, it'd be hard to guard.
It would be. I mean,
but in some ways, I'm like, maybe it would just be wasted energy because you could just run a high pick and roll with Tyrese Halliburton.
That's a fact. That is a fact. I mean, I kind of just think, you go to Golden State, and obviously
I'll put Sacramento in there right now too.
For sure, 100. Yeah, they move really well. But you go to those teams and they're top, probably top 5 in the league in offense. I don't know about Golden State as of this moment.
They were for
sure. But
6 or 7
you see
years,
it, but I think you can definitely trickle that stuff in, and obviously you're not going to go away from high ball screens with your best player, as you shouldn't. But if you could do actions around that, even during that, then I think it becomes even harder to guard.
Do you think some of the issue is just the continuity of players staying long enough?
That's interesting. Potentially.
I could see that.
Because think about Germany, like we were talking about this before. It's like those guys, Dennis and they've played together since they were 13. So they know this. And it's like NBA teams, it's like people are getting paid, they're getting traded,
You hardly ever had the same team. Yeah, I can see that.
I do think like you can teach concepts. So I'll give you an example, like with Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sabonis is the hub. You can run your initial action, but they're always going to get to a second action because the concept is we can always just go to a DHO with Sabonis, right? That's going to create some level of movement. That's going to bring a second defender in. I think the buy-in would be tough, and part of the reason is like it's actually hard to play offense that way for 48 minutes in an NBA game. It's just hard.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Did you realize how good Ant was before playing with him there?
I mean, I knew. I mean, just because basically our whole defensive scheme was when we played them to stop him. I think he just was talking about it on some. They asked him who's one person that he wants to cook, and he was like LeBron, but they never let it happen because they're always doubling. Yeah, I don't know if I knew he was that good. The Germany game in Abu Dhabi, when he just took over in the second half, I remember he made a baseline fade, like double pump, and I was on the right wing, and I don't know what everybody else was thinking at the time, but it was a close game. I was just like, everything went slow motion again, and I was just like, that might be one of the best shots I've ever seen in person. Like the degree of difficulty, time and score, all that for him to, have confidence in himself to shoot that and make that. That was it was really impressive.